My favorite people on earth are Jesus freaks. My second favorite are agnostics. Why? You'll find out today when I introduce you to a very kind and wonderful man, husband and father, who doesn't believe as I do. The conversation begins on The View.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 244-0077. That's 244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 4 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock, and we welcome you on this gorgeous day. If you're listening live, we appreciate you listening live. We know there's lots of choices that you have to watch or listen to this program live, but for whatever reason, the God has led you here, or perhaps you're just immensely intelligent and wise, and you just know a good thing when you hear it. I know, I'm sorry. Frank's here, too. I'll try not to ruin it for you. Frank has a new name, by the way. And we're very transparent around here, so we'll tell you why. Frank's real name is Frank. I fell over the hose and the house fell on top of me. Is that close?
Yeah, Holzhauser.
Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, I, for some reason, can't say that name very well. Now, Frank's middle name, which it doesn't represent him at all, because when we hear the name Thomas, we usually put doubting in front of it. And there's no doubting in Frank's life at all. Frank knows, well, how much do you know? Everything? Yeah, okay. No. So this is Frank the Verse Thomas. So that's what we're going to call him from now on, is Frank the Verse Thomas. Now, you may recall that we used to call him the Voice. That's because Frank would call in on the radio station all the time, and he has a very distinctive voice. After working with him for a little over a year, Pastor Michael Mudloff renamed him the Verse, because Frank the Verse Thomas is the best verse contexter. No, that's not the word.
Proof texter?
Proof texter, thank you, that I've ever met. Frank can answer any theological problem with one verse.
A series of verses.
And discount all the other ones. I could show Frank that, for instance, predestination is absolutely, completely biblical. And he'll give me one verse and think he's absolutely discounted everything else. So the children learn. And I'm happy to have my little Frankie by my side. Ryan is producing today, and I want to introduce you to a guy, and I want you to hold up this guy. His name is Jeremy Johnson.
Jordan.
What?
Jordan.
Oh, Jimmy. Really? Jeremy Jordan?
Yeah, really.
Oh, crap. I'm sorry. Jeremy Jordan. All right. And Jeremy's a Facebook friend. Right. And if you engage with me on Facebook, get that microphone a little bit closer to you. Yeah. If you engage at all with me on Facebook, you know we get some threads on fire. We get going pretty good. Now, over the years, I have done my best not to eliminate people who have a different thought pattern than I do, who feel differently than I do, even who feel opposite of me. Usually the only people that I unfortunately eventually block are people who can't keep their language correct. I don't mind a spirited conversation. I want you to think I'm dead wrong. I just don't want you to call me a bad name before you tell me that. And when you do that to other people and myself, you get blocked on my Facebook. Difference of opinions are welcome. After all, if two people always agreed, one of them wouldn't be necessary. Well, you and I, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks?
A week, I think.
Oh, really? A week? Okay. Got into a conversation, and it was about faith. Do you remember what the thread started on?
Well, it was just we were discussing. I think it mostly started, you commented on, I had put something on Facebook that, Jesus walked around with a prostitute, but, Christians couldn't make a cake for gays. Yes,
that was it. Very good. All right. And so we started to engage. And if you're not on Facebook, there's one good thing you're not dealing with, which is a social phenomenon. We've learned as children to speak clearly, enunciate. Smiles are important. Tone is important. And a sense of humor is extremely important in a conversation and building a relationship between two people. Well, all those things I just said, you can't get on Facebook. The only way to emphasize what you are saying on Facebook is, I guess, if it's all capitalized, you figure the guy's mad. And if he ends it with LOL, he's Frank the Sarcastic Thomas that we're used to.
Or a smiley face.
Or a smiley face. Or a frowny face. Yeah. But, and the other thing I dislike so much about Facebook is the keyboard cowboys. And these are people who are really good, much better than I am. Seriously. Much better than I am at 144 characters. Okay. I'm not on Twitter. There's a reason why. I can't say anything in 144 characters.
I find these people, and understand what I'm saying here, right, as in WRITE, makes right. There's people that you get into arguments with on Facebook, and they will barrage you with so much material you couldn't read it in the next century. And they think that right makes right. I keep my paragraphs to about 2.
Meaning if you write something, it makes it so.
No. Well, yes, they try to overwhelm you with words.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I grew up, Frank, you grew up in the generation that if it was in the newspaper, it had to be true.
Yeah.
Well, there's a sense of the way we communicate that if we read it, if we see it, it's more factual than as if you hear it.
That's why Christ says that it's important to read the Word.
Yeah. I was just going to say that. Thanks. But on Facebook, it's very hard. And so Jeremy and I kind of got to the point, don't let me put words in your mouth, kind of got to the point where we felt we could have a good conversation, but we needed to get away from the fray. In fact, I even think we went to personal message.
Correct.
Yeah. So I asked Jeremy to come in on the show and to continue the conversation that we were talking about. Now, for those of you who have never listened to one of my shows, when I have an agnostic friend on, you're going, isn't this Christian radio? Am I supposed to have like Billy Graham preaching to me? And what is he doing with a non-believer on the show? The name of this show is called The View from a Pew. And the idea of The View from a Pew is just like anybody else in the middle of church. You can raise your hand in the middle of the sermon and ask a question. This is the view from the pew, not the pulpit. There are 23 hours a day of solid biblical teaching on this station. My hour is not. My hour is a conversation. My hour is bringing Jesus alive and hanging flesh on those bones and talking about what it's like to be a Christian in 2015, not just 33 AD. Because it's easy to go back and read that Bible that I love, the word that I love so much that just, it's the fabric of my life. But sometimes I want to get eyeball to eyeball and belly to belly with man and talk about the tough stuff. Oh, yeah, you got all your problems in life and you just give them to Jesus and everything will be fine. Hallelujah. 3 Hail Marys. But that's not the way it is. And it's not the way it is for anybody. Maybe your pastor tells you it's that way. It's not. We all have flesh hanging on our bones. And those flesh is sinful. And what we like to do on The View from a Pew is talk about that stuff. And so that's what we're going to do. Now, we have phone lines open at 244-0077. And you are welcome to call in and make comment if you want. The only thing I ask is that you be nice. You can totally disagree with me and Frank. You can totally disagree with Jeremy. Just let's be nice. Let's just be nice. And if you're not, I'll hang up on you. So it's real simple. So tell me, you're a dad.
Yes.
How many?
4.
Wow. Tell me where they come and.
Yeah. I've been married to my wife for coming up on 20 years.
Okay.
We got married pretty young, but we have 2 older kids. One's in college and one's going to graduate next year, a boy and a girl. And then, we started life and we had this great idea that hit 40 and we were going to be done with the kids. They're going to be out of the house and we're going to go have fun. And
empty nesters.
Yeah, exactly. And then we got to be 30 and it was like, so we're having kind of fun with this family thing. And what exactly were we going to do at 40 again? So we added a couple more. We have 2 younger ones that are 3rd and 1st grade. And they obviously make me feel young, even though I'm 40.
Sure. Now, what's the truth? Who really wanted the other 2 kids?
Well, I mean, it's no doubt that my wife wanted the 3rd one, and then, strangely enough, I wanted the 4th one.
Okay.
So.
Are you done now?
We are, yeah.
And
four's plenty.
You've taken the necessary precautions to make sure?
No.
Oh, kind of Catholic in you. You just kind of wing it, and if another one pops up, that's okay.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but yeah, no, I mean,
okay.
We're done, but
yeah.
we didn't make anything permanent.
You never know. You never know. All right. And you are an insurance agent here in town.
Correct.
We're not going to identify the insurance agency, not
be too
because you're
hard.
not proud of it. It's one of the best.
I am very.
It's one of the best in the country. But the words and opinions of Jeremy is not a reflection upon who he works with and who he works for. And so we just leave that off. But trust me, he works for a great insurance agency. Born and raised here?
Pretty much Ames.
Ames?
Most of my life. And then I lived in Houston for 4 years. But yeah, most of my life.
Are you a Cyclone fan?
Absolutely.
Big one?
Pretty big.
Who's better, Clones or Hawks?
Well, it's clones.
Clone. He says, like, duh, Mac. Why do you even say that? And your bride's name?
Sonda.
Does she work outside the home?
Nope. Well, I mean, she does now because the kids are in school.
Yeah.
But she was a stay-at-home mom for the most. I mean, obviously there was times where she needed to work and stuff. But
Yeah. And what is her passion?
well, actually, she's a big Christian. She loves Jesus.
Really?
Absolutely.
Was it that way when you got married?
Yeah, I mean, sort of, but not as much as maybe now. She's certainly grown in her beliefs. So, but yeah, and then she's a Disney park nut. She likes that, and we just love family. I mean, that's pretty much brought us together, and
Yeah.
and just hanging out and laughing with people.
Now, see, I didn't know this about you with your wife, though. This is interesting. How do you, and I don't say this rhetorically,
Yeah.
how does your wife, who has such a strong faith and lives her faith, marry, love, in love with, share life with someone who doesn't see it that way?
Well, I would guess it comes down to you can't choose who you fall in love with. I mean, I'm sure there is a choice in there somewhere, but I mean, we met each other. We were both young.
Yeah.
I was a freshman in college, and she was just. I mean, I literally met her graduation day when she graduated from as a senior. So we were young. I mean, obviously, I mean, being 20, I mean, you put a lot of things before a lot of other things in
Sure,
life when you find
sure.
the person you want to be with.
Sure. Does she evangelize to you?
Not so much anymore. I
Okay.
mean, I think we know where we sit, and it's not like, I discredit her belief or anything. I mean,
Yeah, you're not a militant.
I mean, and it's, I can certainly respect somebody that. I mean, that's what I mean. I wish I had some belief, right? I mean, I can certainly appreciate when we go to Hope, and I mean, Pastor Mike is.
You go to Hope?
Well, we do. I mean,
Good.
a little bit. I mean,
Are you a creaster? Christmas and Easter?
well, that's a pretty good.
Okay. Does your wife go more often though?
Not really.
No. Okay.
Our oldest daughter, though, she helped out at the Wednesday studies
Sure.
and stuff. So
Yep.
I think she did that a good 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
So, but I mean, hearing Mike talk, I mean, you want to believe. I mean, who doesn't want to hope there's something else?
Yeah.
It's just that it's hard for me to go there.
So, do you have any contentious debates amongst yourself about the rearing of your children and the?
No, I absolutely defer to her. I mean, I have no problem with. I mean, and honestly, there's even as a non-believer, there's nothing wrong with raising your child as a Christian. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in there. So, no, that's absolutely great. I mean, but at the same time, I don't believe, and this comes from back when I went to a non-denominational church or, was with, even way younger as a Catholic, but I don't think you can push anybody to believe anything. I mean, they can, I mean, you can take them to church every Sunday, but, and they can tell me to my face that they believe, but they know what's in their heart. So I'll let them, do their own thing and grow how they wish to grow.
See, I told you he was a good guy. See, this, and we never met until half hour ago.
No, not personally. I mean, not
Yeah.
face to face.
Yeah, I just sent something. All right. We're also joined today by Jim Bear, and Jim is becoming a regular, which I hope he does even more on the show. You most usually have seen him when we have Christian on. And Ted's not here, though. Ted's in Austin, Texas. You and Ted and Christian are coming back
On the 29th.
29th. That's right. All right. So we'll have them together. So that's the show for now. If you'd like to call in and ask questions on either side, maybe you're a friend of Jeremy's and you and he see life the same way through the same lenses, and you'd like to reinforce or back up what he's saying in your own words, I'd love to have you. 244-0077. We'll continue live on The View from a Pew on The Truth 99.3.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome back. 21 minutes after the hour. And we're having a fun show today on Thursday. Jim Bear is here, and Jim's becoming a regular on our show. We appreciate that. And you mainly know Jim from when he's in with Chris John Beck and Ted Roberts. Ted cannot be here. Ted, if you want to call in, you can call in from Austin, Texas at 515-244.
He's still in Texas?
0077. He flies to Texas Thursday afternoon and then comes back Tuesday night and does our Wednesday morning and Thursday morning Bible study and then flies back down to Texas. So, Frank, the Verse Thomas, in the house. Of course, Ryan producing. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and our special guest today is Jeremy Jordan.
Got it.
Got it right. He's an insurance executive here in town. We're not going to name the insurance company because they don't need to, get splattered on or take responsibility for what he may or may not say, but it's a good one. And one of the things we want to get to, and I'm not sure we'll get to it right away, but the question that Jeremy and I wanted to discuss is, why do Christians pick and choose what sin is worse than others? And the conversation that has been going here is Jim has an incredible marriage to Shonda?
Jeremy and Sonda.
Oh, yeah. Did I say? Oh.
You said Jim. Jeremy has a wonderful marriage with
Sonda.
All right.
You just say that for me.
I have a wonderful marriage with Sherry.
Okay.
So.
And I have a wonderful marriage with Frank. But Sonda,
correct? Yep.
is a Christian.
Correct. Very much so.
Was she when you married her?
I mean, like I said, I mean, it is my opinion she's not quite as strong as maybe she is now.
Okay.
But she was younger. I mean, like I said, I met her when she was 18.
Yeah.
So, you know, but she's definitely grown. And her grandmother, who lived in Florida, you know, very strong influence and obviously a very Christian woman.
Okay.
So, I mean, so that's she grew, you know.
And you being an agnostic, self-identified.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't put that label on you. You're okay with her and she's okay with you.
Absolutely.
And you said something at the end of the last segment, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it says, but and I don't put words in people's mouth, but I think you said, I wish I could believe.
Well, yeah, I mean, and what I mean by that, I mean, who doesn't hope there is something? I
Right.
mean, the last thing I want to do is get to be 75, die, and then just be worm food. I mean, you know, there is a hope that there is more.
Yeah.
And like we discussed before we were on air, I mean, you witnessed the birth of 4 children. It's hard. I mean, that's just so special, and that you can't describe it unless you've actually lived through it. And so that's something that, you know, you makes you hope that there's something more. And if nothing else, just for them. I mean, you know.
Have you ever asked, hey, Jesus, come into my life?
Well, I suppose I did. I mean, like, you know, we discussed previously off air as well. I mean, I went to a non-denominational church in Houston for a few years, and obviously as a kid went through most of the school, most
Catechism.
of catechism,
Catholic.
CCD. Yeah. I mean, I may have. I mean, I don't.
But it didn't stick.
Clearly not.
Nothing happened. Okay. But you're not mean. You're not radical. You're not angry.
Hostile or-
Hostile.
Oh, no, not at all.
What I would lay out here is, Frank, maybe this is an example of elect again. Maybe this is an example of a wife who believes and knows, and a husband who just hadn't come to him. Just hadn't come to him, because he's certainly around it all the time. He's got a wonderful wife. My guess is your children are pretty cool too.
They are.
You know, just by meeting
I
you.
like to think so.
Well, I'll bet, and I can promise you, your wife prays for you.
Oh, I have no doubt she does. I mean, and when Max said that we're cool with each other, I mean, that just means our marriage is strong, and we raise our kids, and they became great kids, and we have a great family. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't wish that I was a Christian.
I bet she prays for the Holy Spirit to work on you, and
no
I'll
doubt.
bet you're being wooed. You probably wouldn't be here if there wasn't some amount of wooing. I mean, because at least it seems like you're a guy that's looking. You're not rejecting.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily looking. I mean, it's, you know, I feel like I've had enough conversations. I mean, we lived in Boone for a few years, and I went to an open Bible church up there, and they have a great pastor up there. And I used to go out to like lunch with him, and just say, hey, you know, I'm definitely on a different page than the wife, and that's not a bad thing. It's not going to hurt our marriage, but I mean, at the same time, I mean, here's my issues, and do you have an answer? Because unless I can get answer to these, there's no moving on.
Well, give me one of the answers. Or I'm sorry, the questions.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing, and I think I mentioned this when we were going back and forth on Facebook, is, you know, as a parent, you know, I'll swoop in, and believe me, you have to get some scrapes and bruises when you're growing up, and I don't shelter our children by any means.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, there's some pretty awful stories out there in the world, and I'm not talking about, like, if there's something awful to me and I bring it on to me. I'm 40 years old, 41 years old. I mean, maybe I deserved it. I made my own choices. I'm a free-thinking being. But when you see something like a 2-year-old child who is abused, molested, taken away from parents, you know, for days, and then winds up dead, you just, if there's a being up there that has all that power, I mean, why didn't they swoop in and save that?
Okay. Can I give you an answer?
You could try.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I ask, is to try. I don't have the answer. I think probably Jim and Frank would have a different one than I did. The short answer is it's sin. What happened to that child was sinful. And sin is something that man brought into the world on his own. God didn't bring it in. God created free will. Now, he knew the opposite of God's will was going to be free will. He knew there wasn't anything really free about it. In fact, it's pretty expensive most of the time because in this case, it cost a child's life. But if God came in and fixed all those problems, we would not learn. And here's my example, and I'm blessed to have this story. My wife and I get married, and she has 2 children, and they're at the time they're like 9 and 7, I think. And Samantha's like 5. That's my youngest daughter. All right. And every day at the end of school, the 3 kids would get on their bikes and they'd climb up 34th Street, which was kind of a hill. And then they'd sweep over to 38th. And then 38th all the way down to my house was this curved downhill.
Sure.
So if they could get to the top of the hill and hang a right and just start going downhill, they had a fun time. But it was that first block that was straight uphill. Well, Samantha still had training wheels. She was, 4 or 3, what I don't know what it would have been.
You said 5, wouldn't you?
Jake is 10, so 8 years. So Samantha would have been like 4. Okay. So Sam would hop on her bike, her little pink Schwinn, and she'd pedal and pedal, trying to catch up with Andre and Jake, and she never could. And she couldn't get up the hill, and Andre and Jake just went around the corner, and Sam would be frustrated and cry. And she'd come back, and I'd hold her, and I'd say, "It's okay, honey, you're not old enough yet." Well, Samantha didn't think it was age. Jeremy. Samantha didn't think it had anything to do with age. Because kind of like when the little dog looks at the big dog, the little dog thinks he's as big as the big dog.
Yeah.
Okay. So Samantha railed on me like a 4-year-old can for weeks to take her training wheels off. And I said, "Sam, if I take your training wheels off, you're going to get hurt. I don't care. I want to be like them. I want to do what the earth says, the flesh says, the kid says, the sin says I can do. And that's do something I'm not equipped to do." And so one day I took, and this is a true story, one day I took off her training wheels, and I said, "Now you're going to hurt yourself." "No, I won't. No, I'm fine." And I gave her that little nudge, and she got into the street. She started to go up the hill, and guess what happened?
She probably fell over.
And skinned her knees real bad. And for days she blamed me. "Why did you let me fall down, Daddy? Why did you let me fall down?" I said, "I didn't let you fall down. You took off the training wheels. You didn't want to do it my way. You didn't want to follow Dad's will and say, you're not going to catch up with your older brother and sister right now, but you will eventually. But you wanted it now. And so you got hurt." Samantha's today a 28-year-old wonderful woman. Skinning her knees at 4, she thought was pretty bad. I knew they'd heal, and we'll pull the rocks out and squirt a little Bactine on it and da-da-da-da-da. God put this child in the hands of his parents. And these parents were horrible people, and they abused her. I'm talking about the child you're speaking of. They abused her. They treated her poorly. They smoked drugs around her. They didn't take care of her at all, and eventually she died. She skinned her knees. Now, to you and I, she's dead. She's gone. We'll never see her again. All God did was just bring his hand down and scoop her back up and bring her home to an incredible place where he could take care of her forever. And he didn't have to hope sin didn't enter her life, and he didn't have to hope that the parents would turn around and do a better job of it.
I mean, I understand where you're coming from as a Christian, and that probably gives you hope that even though she went through that horrible experience, things are better now. But, you know, my case is, I mean, we have a, you know, and the age of the child and really doesn't matter up until you get to a certain age, I suppose. But, I mean, that's a child that's pretty innocent, you know, and I mean, all children are going to fib, and they're going to, you know, they're going to whine or cry for something that they want. I mean, they're just kids. But to go through that level of pain, I mean, imagine just even taking a child from its parents, the trauma that's going to come with that, and then it ramps up and goes to a worse level. And what that child must be going through, and the fear and everything and the awfulness of that. And to me, I get the free will. I mean, there's free will in my house. Everybody's allowed to do what they can do within certain guidelines. But then if there's a chance for me to swoop in, I mean, I'll let them skin their knee. But if it was going to be worse than a skinned knee, I mean, or, you know, I mean, it's just like the same thing. You know, I let my little, I mean, we all have those times where your kid does something that, you know, just takes your breath away because you realize how fragile life is. And we were at a swimming pool, And our little one was 3 at the time, and he's got a little bit of like Asperger's, but I mean, he's a brilliant boy. It's just, when he was younger, he could just take off like you wouldn't believe. And I'm standing there next to him, and all of a sudden he's just jumping in the pool. And so I'm diving in right after him. But we got him, and he was fine. It was almost more than he just jumped in. But, so that was his decision, but yet I'm still the one that's responsible for him. I mean.
Go ahead. You got a minute.
At a point in your life when you did believe in God, or you had some realization that there might be, did you also believe that there was an enemy, a rebel angel, Satan, or do you just totally discard Satan in the equation?
I can't go down that path either. It's hard for me to go there, that there would be somebody out there working against. I think it just comes back to the free will and making bad decisions.
Jeremy, do you read the scripture at all?
I used to. I don't know.
Okay. I don't know if you understand what the Bible teaches, but, when one of the most religious people of Jesus' time confronted him about truth, Jesus' response was, to understand what I'm all about and what I'm talking about here, you need to be spiritually born from above. So if you can't understand the Bible, or you don't understand how life works and why tragedies happen outside the scripture, I've come to understand that a person has to be enlightened through the scripture.
All right, Jim, we're going to take a break. Jim Bear is here. Frank Thomas is here. Our special guest is Jeremy Jordan. And we're being produced by Ryan. I'm Matt. Thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Coming back here on The Truth, 99.3.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 22 minutes for the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Mike Mudloff with True Blue. Tomorrow, Mike Megason. Michael Megason. Megs. Love this guy. Megs is going to be talking about identity tomorrow. If you've never heard Michael Megason, you're just about to take a sweep back 2,000 years because Megs is a lot like the disciples were. Really cool. Doesn't get all jacked up over stuff. Totally accepting of other people's opinion. But he's got this thing. He's got this gift. Some call it a prophecy to be able to help you understand who God made you to be. What your purpose in his ministry is. Not in Meg's ministry, in God's ministry. He's a magical guy, and I just love him. And he's going to be here with us tomorrow, so that'll be nice. My guest today is Jeremy Jordan. Jeremy's an insurance executive here in town. Agent?
Yeah.
Insurance agent here in town. Great guy. We met on Facebook. We found we wanted to have a conversation more than just keyboard cowboys, go back and forth. And so that's why he's here today. And if you've listened to this show long enough, you know that I love all opinions. I need to learn why some people don't believe and what stands in their way. So maybe I can become a better minister. And guys like Jeremy come on and help me understand the hurts, habits, and hang-ups that sometimes everyday life just throws at us. Frank Thomas is here, The Verse, and Jim Bear is here. And Jim, you were in the middle of talking about a spiritual birth with Jeremy. Go ahead and keep that up.
Well, again, in John chapter 3, Jesus is talking to the most religious people of that time, a Pharisee named Nicodemus. And he was obviously noticing all these amazing things that Jesus was doing. And he said, only a person who is with God, who has come from God, can do those things. But he knew the scriptures backward and forward, but he just didn't understand what Jesus was all about. And Jesus' reply was to him that unless a man is born from above, and that means born spiritually, you cannot see the kingdom of God, let alone enter the kingdom of God. And then in John chapter 6, Jesus clearly said that no man can come to me unless it's been given to him by my Father who is in heaven. And Jesus said, I only do the will of my Father. So it's perfectly normal if you're going to church and this does not resonate. You hear the Bible, you see all these people excited about God, but it's just not personal and it is not meaningful to you. My own personal testimony when God opened my eyes spiritually, I was a student at Drake University my senior year, having a lot of fun with my friends. I ran into somebody who was really excited about Christ, and I said, come on, just why is it such a priority in your life? You put so much time toward worship and all this, it's just baffling to me. But I kept asking the questions, and at that time, the pieces of the puzzle, so to speak, that you've heard about, all the Bible stories, all came together into this beautiful picture, and it just, my eyes were open. And then, wow, this is real. And I cannot make you see it.
No, sure.
Nobody can make you see it. But faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word. So as you keep going to church, obviously your wife's a believer, and to have a happy marriage, one of my top priorities would be to just read the Bible with her, ask her the questions, because if you're both on the same page as far as the Lord's concerned, there's not a better marriage.
All right, Frank, go ahead. 1 minute.
I just reinforce what Jim said.
Into the mic.
No words or force of argument can compel the sinner. Only the power of God can apply the truth. So all I can do is present to you the truth as I know it, the seeds as I know it, and it's up to God to whether they germinate in your life or not. But if you come to the Bible with a skeptical point of view, you're going to find skepticism. You come seeking truth, he will reveal that truth in his word to you.
Jeremy Jordan is my guest. Jeremy, from us on Facebook, I would assume that one of your biggest issues is the worst thing about Christianity are the Christians.
Well,
my words, not yours.
Yeah,
but
well, no, I mean, and those words are probably on the Facebook somewhere. I would say, I mean, that's not entirely true. I mean, there's a half truth in there because, I mean, honestly, Christians, and I love all religions for this, a lot of the stuff that they do, a lot of the good in the world.
Sure.
comes through the different religions, whether it be Christianity or even Muslims. I mean, right? I mean, for as awful as that seems right now in the world, they're doing great things as well. The Jewish and all those kind of stuff. But honestly, a lot of times I think the things that drive people away from Christianity are Christians.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it goes back to what we were talking about last week with the bakery. I mean, when, you know, I honestly, you know, I mean, I can see both sides. I would wonder why a gay couple would want to go to a baker that didn't want to make them a cake anyway to begin with, because they have this joyous occasion that they're trying to celebrate. The last thing you want to do is, you know, put anger or hate in there. But at the same time, they've like drawn a line in the sand over gay marriage. Well, why not draw a line in the sand over other stuff? It's like you're picking and choosing. You know, that bakery existed, and I'm sure adulterers came through there. I mean, for all they know, there could have been, you know, manslaughter people that came through there. And there could be a multitude of sinful people that came through there. Second marriages. I mean, the Bible isn't overly keen on multiple marriages. I mean, you can go down that list, but gay marriage is the one where they throw up their hands and say no.
Okay. Can I try to give you an answer for that? I don't know if I've got a good one, but here's my answer. And it's a couple fold. First of all, the small answer is that the adulteress doesn't say, make me a cake that says I can screw around on my husband. The pedophile doesn't make a cake that says, this is for my 12-year-old boy that I sodomize. Whatever other sin you mentioned. The divorcee probably doesn't want on their cake.
Happy second marriage.
Happy second marriage. The gay couple wants their gay union recognized. Now, I'm going to move about 5,000 feet from the cross. I'm going to move a long, long, long ways from the cross, okay? And here's what I mean by that. What do I have for time? Growing up, my favorite uncle was Bill, and I loved Bill. And Bill, in the early 70s, came out. He was married, had 2 children, destroyed that woman to this day, you know. But that's what Bill said he was. So I had a special place in my heart for people that were gay. And when Bill got very sick, he died of AIDS, back when people died of AIDS.
Absolutely.
And Bill was sad because his partner wasn't under the family, quote unquote, the family list.
Yep.
And I remember Bill saying to me, and this was the first time I ever realized the injustices that people who were different than myself, i.e. later to learn sinners. No, wait, I said that wrong because I'm a sinner too. People who were facing something for the first time that I had no experience with. And I said to my grandmother, who was a devout Mennonite woman, now this is the other side of the family, why can't mom's brother Bill have her boyfriend come up and visit? And she said, I'll never forget it, my grandma said, because your Uncle Bill is dying for his sins. And Jesus died for yours, so you'll never have to. That's interesting. I got to think about that a little bit more. You're running a minute early, Ryan. Do you realize that? But yet, I thought Bill ought to be able to have his lover there, his partner. And so I fought for gay rights because I thought Bill's partner ought to be in the hospital with him. And then the next one was insurance and acceptable under a family kind of plan.
Right.
And the gay people that I dealt with, because I stood next to him in the fight, that's all we want. We just want to be able to go visit them in the hospital. 5 years later, I just want to be on his family plan. 5 years later, I don't think you should be able to hire me or fire me because I am or am not gay. 5 years later, I want to marry this person.
Military.
5 years later, now, Jeremy, it's I want you to dispose of your religious beliefs because of mine. We'll talk about that.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
Jeremy Jordan is my special guest today. I thank you again for being in here today. I hope you come back. Frank and Jim are here to pick up where we left off. Here's what happened to people who chose to act upon what we call homosexuality. All right. Now, if you want to rephrase that to people who are acting natural, what comes natural to them, and that's be with a man or a woman, we're not going to debate that.
Sure.
However they got there, okay, their right to be who they are comes from a God, a Jesus, who says, I'll forgive you. My grace is unlimited. If your sin is homosexuality, if your sin is pedophile, if your sin is lust, if your sin is gambling, if your sin is alcoholism, I think you know I'm a recovering alcoholic, almost 5 years. That's one of the sins that I carry. I really can't help it. Through Jesus, I haven't had a drink in 1,792 days, but there are days that Frank makes it almost impossible to make it 1,792. Here's my point. That I want you to see this. There's a car going down the road, and that's a gay person. The car is the gay person. And they're no different than the divorcee or the liar or the cheat or the coveter or whoever it is.
Right.
Satan came along and hijacked that car. Okay? And he made that car barrel through millions and millions and millions of people and kill them. Okay? And that's the LGBT movement. If all two people who were gay wanted was to be able to see each other in the hospital, have a legal document that says they were married, wouldn't that be okay? I'd be okay with that. And I know a lot of my Christian friends, Tom Coates' hair just stood up on his arm because he doesn't believe that. I'm okay with that.
But that's not where they're stopping.
But they're not stopping there, see. Now they're wanting to go to Dowling High School, which is a Catholic institution, and say you have to hire people who you're hired to teach the Word of God, but by the way, you don't have to teach all of it, because I know you disagree with this part over here.
Well, I mean, anybody that knows me, I don't necessarily disagree with Dowling on that at all. I mean, they're a Catholic school, and you would think that they should be able to have teachers. I mean, and I'm guessing they went through their lawyers long before that story hit the airwaves. I mean, I don't think you make that decision knowing that there's going to be a fallout. I mean, that kind of story is just it's like gold to the media.
But see, if the LGBT movement would just stop where they're at, thank you for gay marriage. Thank you for equality in the workplace. Thank you for not allowing some homophobic redneck idiot from Lucas County, Iowa. I say that because they can't hear me down there yet. Make an idiot out of themselves because he wants to talk about the I want to say the FAGO word, but just because they're so idiotic when they say it. It's such an offensive word to just spew out of your mouth. If they'd stop there, the world would be okay. But the next thing they're going to do is they're going to tell Dowling, you can't do that, and the donations are going to go down, and the enrollment's going to go down, and God's life and world's going to get hurt. The next thing they're going to want to do is they're going to want to come to my church and tell Pastor Mike that he can't preach those verses on sin of homosexuality. Oh, you can preach divorce and beating your children and all that, but no, that's called hate speech. That's my fear, Jeremy. That's my fear.
I mean, I won't. I mean, I'm certainly not here to defend either side, and certainly not the, the organizations on those sides. But I don't see it that far. I mean, as somebody that's not a Christian, I don't see it as that. I do sometimes wonder why every issue has to be this blown up thing. But I mean, if you go back to what we originally started talking about, I mean, we're talking about baking a cake, and as a Christian, it's almost like that. Bake them 2 cakes instead. I mean, if they want 1 cake, bake them 2.
I don't disagree. But shouldn't that be my choice to bake them 2 cakes rather than the government telling me I have to bake them a cake?
I think the difference between Dowling and this bakery is, I mean, Dowling is a Catholic school,
right?
That bakery, up until the time that it said, no, I'm not going to bake this cake, probably nobody ever knew that they were a Christian organization. They didn't have, ABC Bakery, a Christian bakery.
Yeah.
I mean, meaning they're serving everybody, and they're supposed to serve everybody. I mean, they can't discriminate for that.
I was in the restaurant business a long time. So the law says I can. The law says no shoots, no shirts, no shoes, no shirts, no service. You could choose to put on your shirt, and I'll serve you.
That's probably a decency law type thing, though. That, though, I mean,
there's health issues, but anyway, Frank, go ahead.
Here's my problem with the whole argument. How's the bank robber supposed to know he's entitled to a pardon for bank robbery if society says bank robbery is okay? Same thing with any sin. It doesn't make any difference to the sin. You're entitled to the pardon, but you got to step up and claim the pardon. But you got to know that there's a law that convicts you of something that tells you you need the pardon and you're in need of saving. You're in need of a savior. So if you take the fact that homosexuality and the government says, hey, never mind, that's fine, that's okay behavior, then the homosexual will never know he's entitled to the pardon, and especially if you start shutting down the preachers from the pulpit.
Well, I wouldn't take that act. I mean, I would fully support the churches being separate. What I was talking about was more small businesses.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think you and I are both right there. My thing is I don't need the government to tell me to make the right choice. If I make the poor choice, I don't need the government to punish me because it is just a cake. But then on the other hand, discrimination is a horrible feeling. When you're discriminated against, it's yucky. It's a horrible, horrible feeling.
I mean, to go back to what I was talking about earlier, I mean, part of the reason that I don't believe is the amount of awful things that humans do to other humans in this world. To me, you get back to 2 people that found each other, bring each other happiness and joy. I mean, that's 1 in a million sometimes. And yeah. I can't see stepping in and taking that away from somebody. Now, does that mean that it's marriage through a church? Well, no, because if the church doesn't believe that, I don't think we should force that on the religious. But on the same, there needs to be a union and protect them.
And I'm with you. And we'll just have to leave on this note because we're out of time. But remember, in Christianity, there's no religion. There's relationship. And in Christianity, in church, it is the people. So if I'm only there on Sunday praising Jesus and telling him I love him and I'll follow his word, and then on Monday I'm doing terrible things. I'm flipping my neighbor off, and I was going to say driving like an idiot, but that is me. But I'm not showing any Christ-like love at all. Then I'm not the church. If I'm strong enough in my faith that I say I cannot sell a wedding cake to a gay couple who are getting married, that's the relationship of Jesus for us. But I know where you're coming from. You're not wrong. I just think we agree to disagree and we see what unfolds next. You have a wonderful family. Thank you for being here. I hope you come
was
back
fun,
sometime. You're always welcome. Jim, sorry you got here late. Glad you're always here. You're never too late until the end of the show.
All right. Thanks for having me.
And call
Appreciate
Frank,
it.
and he can go home, and you could come in and take Frank's place.
All right.
Until tomorrow, figure out somebody you need to forgive and forgive them. And that's how you'll be forgiven. See you tomorrow.